Come on in the room. How you be? How you be? Come on in. Talk to me. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Conversations from Paris. I am here to engage in conversation with you all. So if you're new to the channel, say hello and I'll greet you back. Also, share. Sharing is caring. And I used to ask people to do that, but I wholeheartedly believe these conversations can shift moments, people's lives, and perspectives. So share. Tag and comment because we are talking. It's a conversation, two-way thing. So I'm just gonna, you know how I do. I'm sharing at the beginning. So while I'm sharing, how about you do? Hey, Mom, how are you? Love you. So, let's see here. So yes, guys, come on in. Come on in to the room so we can start it out. And if you are watching the replay, type replay so that I know that you're watching it. I don't always know who watches my replays, and it's so weird because people tell me, oh yeah, I was watching, and I'm like, I don't know, because if you don't comment, I don't know all the time, but I would love to know that you're in here with me, so just let me know. Okay, so let's get started. So I don't know if you guys were on here last week. Not last week. That's not true. I'm sorry. I don't know if you were on here on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I was letting you guys know I had did a post about when I get my nails done. So it's funny because the idea is that just seems like it's something you do because you want to be pampered or something, whatever. But it really bubbled up a conversation inside of me that really, I want to say, it really challenged me to think about the things that I do and how I do them, and not just me, but all the different things that I feel like we all do on a daily basis, right? And so self-care, as much as I encourage people to do it, the reality is most of us don't even really get it, and we think it's something that's a privileged thing, and I don't think we're privy to how necessary it is, right? That seems like that one time a year that you get a certificate on your birthday to go somewhere and get a massage, and that's self-care. No, sweetheart. No, it's much bigger than that. I'll be honest, I wasn't even 100% sure what it really meant, but I am going to give a few definitions. So, because we're going to start a series. I think not only we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of it, like right now and until July, but I think we're going to take all July and do it, because I think when you really start to dive deep into self-care, you start to realize how much it's about identity, right? And starting to deal about how much it has to do with how you are healthily, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? It's so much more than you thought. Like, I uncovered so much with this. Like, it was really good. So if I wanted to give you a regular definition of it, self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. Another definition is the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, especially during periods of stress. So I like that, right? Both of those are good, right? And that's just one definition of it, or two definitions particularly. So that's how most people look at it, and that's a good definition. You taking care of yourself, you being an advocate for yourself, and making sure that you're good, especially when things are going crazy. You make sure that you don't go off the deep end, right? So that's one form of it. Here's another, like, the version of it, definition of psychology. Self-care is providing adequate attention to your own physical and physiological wellness and psychological wellness. Beyond being a aspirational goal, hear me guys, engaging in self-care has been described as an ethical imperative and is part of the APA's ethics code. Why do I want to talk about that? Because I think we think it's an optional thing. And I'm telling you, self-care is just, it's basics. And I feel like we don't have good foundations all the time. And so we have come off to believe that it's a treat. It's a every once in a while thing that maybe if you have time to do it, you know, you go ahead and get a few extra pennies, you do it. But it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It has everything to do with the idea that you're taking care of yourself. Here's another definition. I like it. They said the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. I love that because that's when it comes to healthcare. And a lot of the doctors, one of the biggest things is preventive medicine, right? We talk about this all the time. Well, we'll make sure everybody else goes to the doctor. We'll make sure everybody else is checking their stats, but we won't do our own. We won't make sure we are good. And that is a huge part of self-care and self-advocacy. So that's part of self-care as well. Like, listen, I like that definition because I was going to go into why going to the doctor is a part of your self-care. Period, point blank. It is literally. Here's a couple of things. For your physical self-care, developing a good sleep schedule. I took this for granted for a very long time because I thought I was slightly invincible, but I literally know how important sleep is these days. And honestly, that is a real form of self-care. When you take the time to rest and rejuvenate. Hey, Leah girl, when you take that time to rest and rejuvenate, you literally give your brain cells like the extra blood flow and the extra oxygen so that they can operate the way they're supposed to. It's really actually very scientific why you need enough sleep. But on a very basic level, you need sleep because it recharges your brain. It recharges your heart. When you're exhausted, you don't make good decisions. When you're exhausted, anxiety and fear takes the best of you. When you're exhausted, you can explode. So you absolutely not only need sleep, but you need a regular, sleep pattern so your body's used to it. So that's a form of self-care. Eating healthy, like that's one of the things I think we don't really think about. We think that when we eat healthy, and I'm included with this, that you're punishing yourself. It feels like you're punishing yourself because, let's be honest, most people don't want to do that. And if you don't want to do it, it feels like punishment. Well, but honestly, all the benefits that come from eating healthy far outweigh the momentary the moment of restriction that you see, right? So that's a form of self-care. This is one that triggered me when they said it, taking lunch breaks when you're at work. Yikes. Do y'all even understand? I am still working on that one. See, look, I'm gonna be transparent. I'm working on that one. I don't always take a lunch break at work. And so I'm trying to be better about that. Stepping away. Understanding if I step away that the world will not burn down. Understanding if I step away to gather myself, I'm going to be better to do my job when I come back. Understanding that, yes, I'm here for work, but I also need some time for me to regroup. I have not always, and I don't always take that advice, but to see that on the list, I was like, I was going to leave it out so y'all didn't see it, but I said that wouldn't be me, would it? So I'm going to speak on what I do and what I don't do. So like I told y'all, we all a work in progress. Yes, that one was the one that was very triggering for me, was the taking lunch breaks. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I got it. Okay, I see that one. So that one was a good one. Just gonna give you a few more because again, I told y'all this is more than just self-care stuff, but I'm trying to give you some examples of it for the people that didn't know. I'm assuming everybody really knows what self-care is, but I'm gonna go to deeper. It says going for a walk, whether it's like exercising or just going for a leisure walk. That is so good. It gets your heart pumping. What it does for you is even relaxation. A lot of times you can clear your head when you're walking. It does so much more for you than you realize. And so I really think that whenever you walk, however you choose to do it, it's definitely a form of self-care. And here's one last one, and I'm gonna just go into something else. This is one that I spoke of. Was it last week? I think. Using your PTO at work. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I don't know about you, but in America, I think there's staggering statistics about I think it says that I'm gonna look up the statistics really. There's a large amount of people that don't take their PTO or their sick time. They feel guilty about it, and therefore they don't take it, or they think that they're being exemplary worker if they don't take it. And it is so toxic that that's not, let me be clear. I can tell you what my problem is. I might not take a lunch break, but baby, I burn through my PTO. Trust. I burn through my PTO. Not because, I don't abuse it, but that's part of your benefits package. It absolutely is necessary for you to use that. And honestly, this idea, I used to work at a company where there was kind of a running joke, yeah, I think I'm going to forfeit 10 days this year. Can I have your 10 days? Are we kidding? I'm running out of mine. Are we serious? And to really think that people wear it as a badge of honor. The badge of honor is that if I am self-sacrificing, I won't, if I'm self-sacrificing, everybody will realize how much of a good person I am and they'll value me. This is also the same thing about why a lot of women are worried about taking maternity leave. They're worried that they're going to get used to them without being in a position, and therefore they won't really be needed when they come back. It's so ludicrous because we've conditioned ourselves to believe that we don't have a right to take a break. And it's so very toxic. It's so extremely toxic. Hey, Trey. And so, that's something that I thought about, and we need to do it so much more often, but not just your PTO. Let's go use your sick time. Let's talk about it. Use your sick time. That is also a part of your benefits package. You don't have to be laying up in the bed with fever to take your sick time. There's somebody I know who would take what they call mental health days. And I used to think it was funny at first, but I honestly was like, that's an amazing idea. Cause me, when I took my days, I was on a trip somewhere. Me, that's part of my self-care. Let's talk about it. Get on a plane somewhere. That's my self-care. But that's a part of it. That's a part for me. And everybody can't do that, or everybody doesn't want to do that. And that's fine. But I used to be like, well, what you taking off for if you don't have nowhere to go? And they told me it's a mental health day. They said, because I need a day after doing this for so long, I need a day or so to clear my head and just not have to do work and not do anything that's, productive. And I thought about it and said, that's amazing. So you give yourself permission. Nothing's wrong. You give yourself permission and say, I'm going to take a day so that I can tend to myself in whatever way I deem necessary. That's freaking awesome. I love it. And I've adapted it ever since. The idea that I don't need an occasion to take a day. Now, I'm a little different because I end up doing all these other stuff. So sometimes I don't have any extra days. But listen, especially when I know the fact that you will lose your sick time, some companies where you'll lose it after a while. So, if I have some time, I'm going to take a day. And here's another one. Take a day and don't explain why you're taking a day. That seems even harder, right? Because I know so many people. Come on, y'all. Now I want y'all to tell the truth here. How many times where you want to call off and you got to make sure that your boss hear how sick you are? I've done it. I'm not proud of it, but I've done it. Where I've called in and said, "Hello, I just don't feel so good today." It's a horrible thing to admit, but I've done it before. I haven't done it lately. And when I say lately, I haven't done it in years. I'm proud to say that. Matter of fact, I'm the person they send home and when they think I'm sick. And the crazy part, I think about that. I used to wear that as a badge of honor. I'm gonna come sick, to work sick. Hell, hell have to freeze up for me to stay home, and that is very toxic as well. Because if I didn't feel good, I should just take the day. But I would be convinced. And I did have stuff to do, and that part of my reality was when I wasn't there, certain things just wouldn't get done. So I felt the need though that okay, just not take the day and just go because you don't want to let the team down. You don't want to come back to a bigger workload. But you know what? I have hurt myself and made myself sicker when I wouldn't just take a day or so. So now my new psychology of it is I'm going to take a day now or be forced to take a week later. I told y'all I have kittens, right? I told y'all, and this one just decided to climb up my leg and I don't have the time for her. So I apologize for whatever this jungle that you see happening is right now. And so it's like the idea of if I don't take the time now, my body is going to force me to take it and it won't be under my own terms. It won't be, it'll be that it's stopping. It's like, hey, you can't go any further. And so I've had to learn that I have to take the time, even when I don't really want to, if I have a good reason for not wanting to. It's crazy to not take the time when you have it. And let's go a step further. Sometimes this stuff is learned. Your boss is not even pressing you. Your job is not even pressing you. I had to tell a coworker not too long ago, and they were like really sick. I said, "Hey," and they like, "Well, I have to work. I gotta get this work done." And I understood the pressure and the stress. But I said, "Guess what?" And this is harsh what I'm about to say, but I had to let them know because I wanted to be 100% real. If you pass away while you're working or you pass away, the company you work for will fill your position within a month. And until that month is filled, there's going to be somebody else at the company that's going to do it. Whether it's done right or not, man, they're going to do it. I know that sounds harsh, but I need you to hear that so you don't sit here and break your back and, overexhaust yourself trying to be an exemplary employee, and then now you're in shreds. You're emotionally and mentally and physically drained. Yeah, Tracy, you said less time of that. For real, I'm being nice by saying a month. I wanted to say 2 weeks. I told her 2 weeks, but I'm just saying I'll give it a month. You're gonna be replaced, fam. Don't you give yourself a heart attack with these companies. Listen, let me be real with y'all. Don't give yourself a heart attack even for these businesses that you're starting. Yes, these are your business, this is your brand, but baby, you got to be alive for it to be thriving, right? I'm not saying don't work hard. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying though, there's a component of self-advocacy and self-care that is necessary for you to maintain the things you're trying to build. And when we talk about purpose, when we talk about pursuing your passion, when we talk about living a full life, a whole life, None of those things are going to matter if you don't take care of yourself properly. You're not going to be around for it. Hey, Seneca girl, how are you? And so it's one of those things where we always have to find balance. And I think that the part of the, what is that called? The board that's supposed to be on your side is oftentimes not balanced. It's not. It's always, we're very low on our own stuff. And I think it's much more psychological than we believe. Much more. It's so deeply rooted. And this other part of me, let me remind you something. Y'all know when y'all go on job interviews, like the first, and that's why I interview a lot. And I don't ask that question because I get irritated with that. When people ask you, like, what's your strengths and your weaknesses? People pre-plan telling what their strengths and their weaknesses are. And let's be honest, they're going to give you some fluffy stuff that's going to sound good, right? Nobody's going to really tell you their real weaknesses and their real strengths, right? And so it's so funny because one of the ones I used to say when I used to be in these job interviews years ago was that my weakness is that I work too hard. My weakness is that I give my all and I don't know when to stop until the project is done. Companies eat it up too sometimes. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Ooh. But it's this whole idea that that's what you're bragging on, is that you're not a balanced individual. You're bragging on the fact that you don't really understand how to carry your load and then how to be able to not be overwhelmed and properly prioritize things. See, well, my new ear, I can hear that because I understand what boundaries are. I now understand and I respect the person that can have boundaries even at work, but work hard. I'm going to work hard and be the best employee for you. But I've heard people say, hey, I have a hard stop at this time. I respect you for saying that because you know that that's what you need. And guess what? I can't be mad at that. Why would I be mad at that? Why would I punish you for saying that? That's your choice. You have boundaries. But it's so funny because we do this all the time. We brag on the fact that we give our all and we're self-sacrificing. And then when there's nothing else to give and we're depleted because we're not properly filled up, then we want to talk about, oh, people take everything from me. And it's like, unfortunately, you're not really even being somebody that values yourself enough to not allow that to happen. Hey, Alicia, girl. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you bring this into your relationships, you bring it into your workplace, you bring it into your time with your children, you bring this into your family time, you bring this into any of your social activities because it all starts inside. And so that's why when I talk about self-care, I really want us to get beyond the surface of it. It's more than just going to get your nails done. It is talking about loving on a deep level on you. It's deeper than a spa day, sis. It's deeper than going to get your hair cut, bro. It's deeper than going to go, to the golf and hit some balls. It's so much deeper. Those are ways you can relieve some of that stress and do something nice for yourself, but it's so much deeper. And I want us to get into the psychology of why we don't believe that we're worthy of self-care. Seneca, you said, I really need this today because I've been struggling with this at my job. Listen, sis, I listen. And I talk like this because I know what it's like to lack balance. I think a lot of us know. Matter of fact, not only do a lot of us know, I think most people they don't have balance. They don't. And therefore, they're putting themselves in a position where they're on the verge of a breakdown. They're on the verge of snapping. They're on the verge of not being able to look like they're irrational. But the reality is, if we knew better how to take care of ourselves, that's the problem. So what the real problem at the root is us not really believing that we're worthy of taking care of ourselves on that deep of a level. But But if we did believe that, then also knowing what it looks like on a regular basis. That's why I read you that one definition that said that it was not some singular activity, but yet it is a lifestyle where it's supposed to be incorporated into who you are. There should be some part of your regular daily life that involves self-care. And if you can't think of what that is, and sis, I'm sorry, taking a shower is that, one day. I mean, like if you wake up and say, oh, I took a shower today, that's not self-care. That's basic hygiene and basic maintenance. Don't get me wrong, I'm not messing around. Some days, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with some extreme situation, maybe you can't get up and do it like that. So I'm not shading anybody. But let's get beyond that. I'm not talking about basic grooming. I'm talking about doing something every day for you to make sure that you maintain your mental status, your emotional status, your physical status, your spiritual being, all of that. There is something that you can do on every level, on a regular basis. And I'm telling you, when you don't do these things, but you're fast to do it for everybody else, you will start to even build up a resentment. Let me give you an example. I remember there was somebody who was like, oh, I'm just so, what were they saying? What were they bragging on? They were bragging on about how they were just so bored and they had this going on, that, or they didn't, they needed this time, they wanted something to do. They just, was trying to find something to get into. And they were somebody who I was helping out with the project. And so it was interesting to me that they said that. And I'll be honest with you, I got a little offensive. This was years ago. And I just was like, wait, how are they bored? And I'm over here exhausted. I'm over here overwhelmed slightly. I'm over here staying after at work. I'm here, taking on extra part of the project because they asked for my assistance. And then I had to think about it and realize that at some point, I made it okay for them to do what they were doing. You're like, well, Paris, what do you mean you made it okay? I didn't establish where my boundaries were, and I did not establish what was acceptable, right? It's true what they say, you teach people how to treat you. Well, it goes deeper than that. Have you ever been the type of person that almost volunteers for stuff? Like someone's like, hey, I need somebody to do this. I'll do it. I'll help. I'll do it. No problem. Don't worry about it. And they try to help. Oh, let me do. No, you don't have to do. No, let me do it. It's no big deal. I got it. Let me do it. I used to find myself doing that all the time. And at the root, I think it's just because I'm a helpful person. I like to help people. And there's nothing wrong with being a helpful person. Here lies the problem. The very thing that I was willing to help them with, I was not willing to take help either. It was a two-edged sword. So I was volunteering for things maybe I didn't really want to do, things that really were not my responsibility, because I thought that's what the good thing to do was, the kind thing. If you're a helpful person, that's what you do, right? Right? That's what you were raised to do. Help out when you see people. When they ask you, be the first person to say yes. That's what you do if you're a good, kind person, right? Even if it's at the expense of you, right? I did it all the time. And then what happens is I'm exhausted and I'm secretly building resentment. And I cannot blame anybody because I'm the one who volunteered. So then what is inside of me that tells me to take on more than I can bear at all, and that I'm Superwoman and I can handle it? What is it in me that does that? And on the other flip side of it, what is it that when somebody offers me assistance on something that I think I should be able to handle by myself, what is it that I won't accept to help? Or my very first response is, no, I'm good, thank you. No, thank you. Like I got really good at saying the word no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm good. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. And you should know, if y'all know me by now, when that voice get high, you should know I'm really not you. I'm good. No, I'm good. Mm-mm. I don't need that gas money. Girl, stop it. Put it back in your purse. I'm good. No, I don't need any help. No, I'm good. And knowing deep down inside, I could probably use some help. What is in it in me that would give to it hurt, literally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, but also when somebody tried to offer help, I couldn't take it. What is that? What is that? I'm asking the question because it's not just me. See, now that I'm finally getting out of it, I see a lot more people into it. And I believe that's how God works, is he heals you from something. And if you do the work and be intentional about it, you see it. And not only do you see it in you, but you see it in everybody else. Like I now see everybody else doing it, like, oh, is that what I look like? Sheesh. And so like I find myself like slapping people's heads. Stop doing that. You don't even want to do that. You're just saying yes because you feel like it's the right thing to do. You're sacrificing yourself at the expense of yourself, and it's not necessary. Nobody asked you to do it. You're going to be over here doing something you don't want to do, and then later on look down the line, and if you ever get in an argument, y'all ever hear somebody, come on, I know this is what y'all heard. I did this for you. I used to do this for you. And you know what is the most piercing thing somebody ever said that to you? I never asked you to. I know y'all heard that before. I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't ask you to do that. And you like, wait a minute. I did this for you. I went all out of my way to do all this for you. And that person can come back and say, I never asked you to. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because we really got to put our nails into what lies in our heart, in our mind, in our psyche that makes it okay, or our definition of being a good person requires you to be self-sacrificing at a level that it literally depletes you. Why do we, and I have to be careful what I'm going to say, because I don't want to make this about a man and a woman thing, but sometimes I feel like it's that way. Sometimes we teach our women that, you know, you have to, let me take the gender away. Let me take gender away. We just teach in this society to be a good person that you have to give all. John Legend got a song, give me all of you, some all of me. You know, it's a pretty song. But when you think about it, and let me be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't bring your 100% to a relationship of any type, right? I don't believe that you should. What I am believing, though, is that the word all is subjective. And so what does that mean? You might think your all is, you know, showing up every day, calling a couple of times a day, you know, making sure you introduce that person to your family, making sure that you cook every meal, clean their house, go out and do that. That might be what your example of your all is. And then somebody else's all could be just being there emotionally and or being present and being present, you know, just in the same area, space, being available when it's necessary. Our definition of all is different. It's different from relationship to relationship, not just romantic relationships, friendships, parent-child relationships, family relationships, business relationships, acquaintanceships. All of it's different. Remember, we talked about those silent expectations and people not really knowing what is expected. it's so important that you understand when you say, oh, I'm going to give my all. Let's make sure that we know what that encompasses, because I've seen so many people give a chunk of who they are to a situation, to a job, to a ministry, to a person, to their children, to their spouse. And they have literally given so much of themselves that they're broken. They are man down. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna try to give an analogy here to make it make sense here. Because I know some of you guys, well, what's wrong with just giving your all to your family? Hear me well. If I see somebody out in the street and they're hurt, or they're in imminent danger, at this point in my life, if I see somebody trying to bully somebody, I'm going to speak up and say something. No, that's not right. No, don't do that. That's not okay. That's not cool, right? I'm going to say something. And some people say they speak against that because they're like, oh, you put yourself in harm's way. If you do that, they could come back and retaliate. Don't do that, Pete. But I'm just telling you, you're not going to sit here and bully somebody in front of me. That's not going to be a good look for me, right? I just can't deal with that, right? It's not going to sit well with me. But what I probably won't do is if somebody pulls a gun out and they point it towards somebody, I'm not going to jump in front of them. Does that make sense? And I know that sounds harsh to somebody. Somebody be like, what would you mean? You can help somebody, wouldn't you? But if it was somebody, if I was in a situation where somebody pulled a gun out, I wasn't going to try to be a hero. I'm not going to jump in front of the gun. I don't even know how to handle a gun, not touched one. So I'm not going to try to take the gun out your hand. I'm not. I stay in my lane. So I figure out what level I can assist. And I assist at that level. And if it goes beyond that level, then I try to elicit more help, or try to call for help or do something else to assist, but I don't overextend. Hear me, guys. You cannot want something for somebody else more than they want it for themselves. I know we've all been in those situations. Where we like, oh my God, whether it's your child, a spouse, whether it's a loved one, whether whoever it is, you cannot strive for somebody more than they do for their own personal being. And I find it that, especially if you're a nurturer, or, mother, or parent, or whatever, or somebody who's just a naturally caring person, it's very hard because you're trying to, in a sense, motivate them to want it for themselves, but you can't do it. The hardest lesson that I have learned, and still I'm learning, because you will literally deplete yourself and then have no reward for it. And I know you're like, well, what do I need a reward for? Listen, I need y'all to stop being self-righteous. Let's be honest. When you do something nice for somebody, you're wanting them to have a better life experience because of something that you sacrificed for. Nobody wants to believe that they did something sacrificial for somebody and then that person's still mad at them. That person's still not doing well in life. That person's not doing any better. Nobody wants to do that because in your head, whether you say it or not, you believe like, well, what was the purpose of that? Like, why would I do that? Like, have you ever done something for somebody, went all out of your way for somebody, everything that you did, and then they just like, well, they walk away and just stop talking to you forever. You like I moved mountains for you. I did this and that. And I always look at that. And then before it just always been, well, there's some horrible people in the world. But then, I had to say, what led me to keep being in situations like that? What was so broken inside of me that allowed myself to keep putting myself in a situation where I was always on that end of the stick? What was in my brain that kept attracting me to people who really weren't in my corner? And why was I doing these things that, like, I mean, I'm talking about I missed paying a bill because I helped paying a couple of their bills because they gambled their money off. I lost sleep because somebody needed some help and I went to help them, and they legitimately went back and did the same thing, the same person the next day. And now I'm at work, tired, exhausted, barely can do what I need to do and drive home. You know, we have to start thinking about what is going on in our heart and our spirit and our soul where we're willing to become their God, their demigod, their this person that's like, their Jesus, their hero, in order to fulfill whatever that is inside of us that said, this is what good people do. What is that? But in the same breath, you won't go to the doctor for something that's been hurting you for a year or two. And you got insurance. In the same breath, you got a lump and you won't go to the doctor because you know, let me go make sure everybody else is okay. In the same breath, you won't set up an appointment with a therapist because that just seems like it's excessive. You don't need all that. You can just, figure it out. I'll figure life out. Sorry, I'm coughing. Make some water. What is that? What is that? I keep finding that I tell y'all every Thursday, I say, oh, it's the weekend, do something, nice for yourself. And, I say this stuff about self-care, but I'm wondering, does any of that resonate at a deeper level? And if it was a lifestyle, I wouldn't have to tell you to do something nice for yourself. Why are people triggered when someone says do something nice for yourself? I even said this last Tuesday. I used to be triggered when people used to go all out and pamper themselves or was considered high maintenance. It bothered me. It bothered me. It bothered me on a deep level because I feel like I was triggered by my lack of believing I deserved it or I was worthy of doing something for my own self. That for me to see other people doing it, it made me feel weird, made me become judgmental, made me insecure, I guess. I don't know what the word would be. But that was a reflection of how I felt inside, right? So, this is going to be on the table all of July. When I finish, we're going to give more definitions in the beginning of June. I want us to do a deep dive into this. Like, I really want us to get into this, we're talking about self-care, but it's really more, it's going to go into self-love, self-worth, self-advocacy. We're not nice enough to ourselves. We're not gracious enough to ourselves. You give more grace to a stranger on the street than you give to yourself when you fall off your diet, when you don't get something right at school, when you show up late to work, when you left your kids' school supplies at home. You're much more gracious to somebody on the street than you are to yourself. Why? Why? We're going to dig into the why. It's much deeper than you know. But it's necessary for us to have these conversations. I mean, it go and I think it's necessary because it's not just about a spa day. It's about why you won't pursue your passion. It's about why you don't go and realize that you can put your energy into figuring out what your purpose is. It's why you have something big, some big project on the way and you procrastinate. Or it's why you are fearful about pursuing anything. Or it's even why you self-sabotage. Yes, Alicia, you say it's good because we need self-love, self-care, because you are worthy. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I want us to get understanding of. If you don't get this at the core, if you don't get this lesson, let me tell you something, you're going to waste some time that you don't need to. And I don't want us to waste time. Time is a commodity. Time is the commodity. If I can help you do one thing, it's going to be preserving and being as efficient as you can be with your time. And the best way to do that, I believe, is to start being more intentional about you. You don't want to walk away or walk through life woulda, shoulda, couldas, because you were not really working for you, moving for you. You can move mountains for everybody else, but you're not moving them for yourself. Like, I know that's not just me. I know that's not something I just suffered with. I know this is something that is real. And we put this badge of honor on for doing it. We tell ourselves, oh, pat on the back. Look at me, I helped somebody out. Pat on the back. Look at me, I'm doing this. When it's okay to help others, but also help yourself. Where was it a bad thing for me to dig myself? Like, why is it bad for me to love myself? I told y'all I was listening the audiobook for Year of the Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And in one of the chapters, she said she used to mute herself, shrink herself, not really have a hard time taking like compliments, really have a hard time. It made her uncomfortable when people said nice things about her. Because she didn't want people to think that she was in love with herself. She didn't want people to think that she was full of herself. She didn't want people to think that she thought too much of herself. And, you know, as she was saying, I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I feel that. I get that. And then when she then, you know, rebutted it with saying, but why? What is that about where we don't want, we're fearful of what people think about what we think about us. Catch that again. We're fearful about what people think about what we think about us. Let me tell y'all something. When you free yourself from that, when you free yourself from the idea that somebody thinks that you think you're all that, man, baby, that's a different type of freedom. That's a different type of freedom, okay? Because you realize that it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. It only matters what you think. And sometimes you got stinking thinking, right? You know, you think horrible about yourself. And we are okay with that. That's much more acceptable than you thinking you're amazing. Like, it makes people uncomfortable when I say I'm amazing. Why does it make you uncomfortable? You should think you're amazing if nobody else does. But if I say, oh, you know, I'm not as motivated as I should be. I'm not this, I'm not that. People will let you sit with that. That's okay with them. That works for them. Nah. And somebody said, well, why don't you let other people compliment you? Nah, sorry. It takes too long. Nah, sis. Nah, bro. I'm not waiting till you compliment me to feel good about myself. That's not what listen, stop waiting for external validation. Sorry. Yep, that got loud. Stop waiting for external validation. Okay? That's not what your meter should be on. Your self-love, your self-care, your self-worth, it should have nothing to do with what other people think. You know, it's nice when somebody says, you look nice today. Thank you. Somebody says, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, you did a good job. I thank you. I got to a point where I remember one person, they would tell me all the time I look nice. And I said, thank you. They would say it. And I think one day I said, they said, hey, you look really good today. I was like, I know. I was just feeling really extra sassy that day. I was like, I know. And then, I laughed about it. And they was like, oh, you just think you all that now. And it immediately they flipped. And I didn't understand it because they always went out of the way to tell me how nice I looked. And the one day I said, oh yeah, it turned on them because they could not imagine that I had the audacity to agree with them. That they had a problem with me having the audacity to affirm myself. They had a problem with me knowing that I was beautiful or nice looking before they said something. They thought that I was going to hinge off of their compliments. They thought I was literally hanging off of the idea that they said I was great. I mean, it's nothing wrong with a compliment. It's wonderful. But baby, you don't have to ever tell me I look good, because there's something inside of me that bubbles up that knows that who I am is beautiful. And I'm beautiful on the inside, and it radiates to the outside. And therefore I can see it when I look in the mirror. And it's not regulated on what you say. That's a whole nother conversation. Sorry. But my point is, I really, really, really want to dig this in. We want to dig our heels into this. I'm tired of seeing people live a life where they're asking for permission to love themselves. Baby girl, I want you to be obsessed with you. And when I say obsessed, you can be obsessed with yourself without being, stuck up or prideful. Obsessed in the sense I'm talking about it. I want you to be able to say, I love me. If nobody else loves me, I love me. That you don't have this void in your heart when you don't feel like you're given something from an external factor. I just see a lot of people that can tighten up with their own self-worth and their self-love. And that's what we're talking about today. You're not going to receive any of this if you don't really love you. And I think a lot of people are just talking the talk, but not walking the walk. Not because they don't want to, because they really don't know how. It was not healthily modeled for them. It was not healthily modeled. And so I want to make sure that we are creating the template of what it looks like to unapologetically love you, unapologetically advocate for yourself, unapologetically, put yourself first. I know that somebody on this live is triggered because I said put yourself first. Put yourself first, sis. Put yourself first, bro. Sir, ma'am, put yourself first. You never do. You never have. It makes your chest hurt as I'm talking about it. But that's okay. It's not a curse word. It's not a curse word. Put yourself first. It's not a curse word. I promise you, nobody will die if you take care of you first. All the people that you help will not drop dead if you don't tend to them first. If you don't answer every phone call, they will still be alive. If you don't give them the money they need, they're going to figure it out and get it from somebody else probably. If you don't stop everything you're doing to go run somewhere to do something for somebody, I promise they'll figure it out. You're not going to receive this yet, and it's okay. We got work to do. I told y'all we're going to do this for the end of June and the rest of July because there's a lot of work to be done on this subject. It's a lot of work because there's layers upon layers upon layers there. And I'm sitting here, I'm about to be peeling onions. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to get a shirt that's called I'm an onion peeler. I'm an onion peeler. My goal here is to peel back the layers of this stinking onion so we can get to the root. Get to the root, because until we get to the root, you're not going to be able to live a full life. And I want you to walk in the fullness thereof of life. So I am excited, guys. I really am. I hope you receive these words. I hope you hear what I'm trying to say. I hope it sits down with you. And even if it's not sitting comfortably, I hope it shakes up something in your spirit that's uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable around me. If you are too in your comfort zone, if you're somebody that this makes uncomfortable, that's okay. Don't run from it. Come back with your uncomfortable self next week. Meet me again on Tuesday. Share this with some of your uncomfortable friends. Somebody that you know that does not know how to care for themselves. Somebody that doesn't know how to be a self-advocate. Someone that doesn't know how to do basic things that is going to preserve their life, their mental, their emotional, their physical status. Share with them. Bring it on. Come on. Bring a notepad. Bring a notepad. Let's take notes. Let's talk about it. This is the type of stuff, this is the type of self-work that you can start. This is why these conversations matter, because there was a conversation that I overheard that made me think twice about how I was living. And that little peak of interest started a deep dive. That man has changed the trajectory of who I am. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. Heck, I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago. I want you to change too. I want you to change for the better. I want you to understand what your rights are. I want you to understand how free and how fulfilled you can be. It's possible. It really is. So I love you all. I really, really do. But I have to leave you. So you know what I always say, you are enough. And what I started saying last week, I'm gonna put it on the shirt. I promise I am. If y'all take it, I'm gonna fuss at y'all. You are worth the fuss. Yes, you're worth the fuss. You're worth it. You are so worth it. And I'm gonna say it till you believe it. If you guys still want to get some shirts, you know I got the You Are Enough shirts and Embrace Your Peculiar. I even still have the man shirts about emotional courage and about how to live as a king. You see the scrolling thing. Check out my website, www.ParisPJohnson. I put a T on it. That was ghetto. Johnson.com for all your needs. But I love you all. I want you to take care of yourself. And if you have never listened to me when I say do something nice for yourself, work on it. And even if it's not something like all extravagant, like, going to a spa day, check your blood pressure. Fix you a salad. Go for a walk. Do something that's going to preserve you. It's going to make sure you're a better person. Sign up for a fitness class. Join a group. Join a group therapy class, or a group cycling. I don't care what you do. Do something. Okay? Report back. Love you guys. I will talk to you later. And share this with somebody. I promise they're gonna love it, because this is stuff that we need to maintain us. Nobody else gonna do it. Stop waiting for people to do that for you. That's not what people are here for. Your friends, you might have some great friends, but you got to stop waiting for them to celebrate you. Celebrate you first. Then they'll jump in and they'll do it too. Love you guys.